Call of Duty Black Ops 3. It is a game that exists. Yes, it has some pretty solid zombies and a tolerable multiplayer for being the second futuristic one, and it definitely has the most bizarre single-player experience in the entire franchise, or at least very close to it. So, after a solid decade, I decided to finally go back and see if it is possible for Special Agent Mike Banning to complete Black Ops 3. Along with that, we're throwing on a bit of an additional challenge that fits with the theme. No Cybercores are allowed. I'm no beta male, and Mike Banning sure as hell isn't either. And the results of this might actually surprise you guys. For those who are unfamiliar with this challenge, Agent Banning is most well known for using handguns in the Has Fallen trilogy, but has used other weapons. In the past, I used to only ever do handgun only, but I realize nowadays that he had other options available in all the movies that he heavily used as well. Melee and grenades are totally acceptable, that melee being with weapons or with knives or really any version of melee for that matter, alongside RPGs and certain assault rifles and submachine guns, so we do have a little bit more, I guess, freedom you could say. Also, despite no Cybercores being allowed, you're gonna be surprised to see how little difference they actually make, at least on the easier difficulties. Now, one reason that I really wanted to try this challenge for Black Ops 3 is the fact that you can customize your loadout before every mission. Then again, that worked kinda well for Black Ops 2, but not so well with Infinite Warfare, so I guess we'll have to see. Anyways, we get into the first mission. Let me just quickly fully explain the rules for this challenge. I have to primarily use handguns during my run, but with the change from handgun only to beating the game purely as Mike Banning, those aren't my only option. So I will now have access to frag grenades and all of the non-lethal pieces of tactical equipment. I also have access to RPGs, and again, perhaps most importantly of all, melee. I mean, seriously, Banning literally kills as many people with his hands and a knife as he does with guns in the movies. There's also a handful of other weapons he's used, such as the MP5 and the G36C that would technically be allowed, but this game is set 40 years in the future, so those weapons no longer exist. Finally, while I think that you could probably do a film theory about Banning being some kind of cyborg or some other, near unkillable super soldier, it's never been officially confirmed, so we're not allowing Cybercores. A few minutes into the first mission, we get this little bit of dialogue about reprogramming weapons to match biometrics. That is a feature that I believe is entirely unique to this particular game in terms of the Call of Duty games. Unless you have a specific item in your loadout, you can't pick up and use enemy weapons. It's really not a huge deal given the amount of ammo crates in each level, but I just thought I'd point it out. The MR6 is going to be my go-to weapon for much of this playthrough. Anyway, the first mission ends with a mandatory vehicle section, but as it turns out, like most of these on-rail vehicle turret sections throughout the Call of Duty games, you don't need to kill anything to get through it. A robot tears off my favorite arm, and we complete the first of 11 missions with little difficulty. The second mission is known for exactly one thing, which is arguably the second most well-known Call of Duty meme behind press F to pay respects.
Outcome? Train go boom.
Anyway, this mission is heavily focused on teaching us how to use the Cybercores. Now, I will have to use a bit of advanced movement in certain areas just to be able to get through them, but I won't be using any of the actual, special powers that these things give you over the various enemies, whether those be distracting human enemies, or shorting out the robots, or the camo feature or anything like that, so none of those, just a little bit of the advanced movement. I did try out the Annihilator pistol during this mission, but ammo is really limited, so if you're trying this challenge yourself, I would suggest not using that weapon. Despite the game's urging, we don't use the Cybercores to interact with turrets or drones in this mission at all. Then there's more tutorial, more tutorial, more tutorial, you get the picture. Also, there's a lot of places that you can pretty much just run through with minimal killing, which is similar to some of the other games in the franchise at times. We possibly reenact the 2022 movie Bullet Train, I don't know, I never actually watched it, and successfully clear the second mission with the challenge still intact. The third mission takes us to the Singapore Quarantine Zone. This mission introduces Warlords, which are basically the futuristic version of the Juggernaut, though you don't get a very good view of him here. Basically, just pump him full of several loads of lead, and he will eventually go on down. This mission has the random high wind anchoring mechanic. the typical COD slow-mo breaching, and the rest of the mission is successful without any problems. As I found out in my realistic playthrough of this game for the Platinum Trophy, you can legitimately skip the entire first battle of the 4th mission. Otherwise, the first part of the mission is pretty much just business as usual. Gun and missile-toting Roombas are not the nicest appliance in the house. We defend a room against several waves of robots, and now we have to wipe out enemies while riding zip lines between gigantic trees. Don't worry, the game gets a hell of a lot weirder later. This mission ends with another required vehicle turret section, and yet again kills are not necessary, so this is yet another mission cleared. The 5th mission, which is the Hypocenter, is a pretty long one. Early on, we have to deal with an enemy that can't be harmed by normal weapons, but take a look at the dialogue here. A lot of bullets.
Hit it with an RPG before it reactivates.
That's right, for whatever reason, Black Ops 3 considers the XM53 to be an RPG, so to me, it technically doesn't violate the rules of the challenge. Fight me if you won't, it's my challenge, my rules. Anyways, we kill a lot of robots, and then we enter this massive server room filled with enemies. Now, this area was a pain in the dick on realistic and veteran no death. Basically, you have to kill a ton of respawning robots while dropping grenades into 3 special grenade holes every few minutes. I mean, it's not that hard in this challenge, but realistic might have given a bit of PTSD. After some pretty straightforward robot fighting, we have this weird swimming section where we have to dodge mines, and while this is another PTSD moment from the veteran no-death run, it's really not too bad for the challenge. With that, 5 missions down. Now for the 6th mission, basically the halfway point of the game. This mission has some stealth sections, but you can basically melee and just run through it. Toward the end of the mission, we are told to kill an ASP using an RPG once again, so to me that technically still counts. Again, my challenge, my rules. The rest of this mission is pretty straightforward, and with that the 6th mission is cleared, leaving us still technically 100% successful halfway through the game, which is where we end the first stream. Let's see how the second one goes. The 7th mission begins with an extended exposition-filled walking segment, that was a tongue twister, but we soon get into a fight that causes no issues. This mission gives us access to the giant nail gun that shoots explosive nails. Thankfully, they aren't insanely powerful, and as long as you wait to detonate them when there are no enemies on the road, you shouldn't have to worry about accidentally killing someone with it. With a little bit of patience, we clear that part of the mission, do some handgun-only street sweeping, and we enter a boss fight against several ASP walkers. But, yet again, it is established that the XM53 is considered an RPG in this universe, and therefore does not void the challenge. Before you know it, the 7th mission has been cleared successfully. Mission 8 is where things really start to get weird. After dealing with a mech suit using the approved so-called RPG, we imagine ourselves in a frozen forest for the first time. This leads to a World War II flashback, and if you ask me to explain the story of this game, I honestly wouldn't be able to give you a good answer because it makes no fucking sense. This part is easy enough handgun only, and then we start fighting direwolves, because someone at Activision or Treyarch was really fucking high when designing this mission. This eventually leads to a battle against a German tank, using our approved RPG supplements. This is followed by another arguably approved RPG supplement fight against an enemy walker. As if that wasn't insane enough, now we have to defend a house against several waves of Nazi zombies. And I thought my brain was cooked after working for Adam for 3 years. Anyways, mission cleared. 8 down, successfully, 3 more to go. Wow. Unfortunately, we run into a major issue in the 9th mission, Sandcastle. This mission contains multiple forced VTOL piloting sections, and unfortunately, no matter what, as far as I can tell, you have to destroy at least 1 or 2 of the enemy planes or else you will fail the mission. However, I refused to give up, and I decided to try to bring in a second controller because if you forgot about it, this game actually had split-screen co-op and online co-op for up to 4 players. So I plugged in a second controller and tried to see if they could do all the work while I sit back and enjoy a Bonnie Blue OnlyFans video. That was a joke, I hope you could tell. Sadly, this ends up being the end of the run, as even in co-op, if both players don't kill some enemy planes, you will eventually fail the mission. I tried at least 5 times with no success. So as far as I can tell, you can't quite beat Black Ops 3 as Mike Banning. Though I would be curious to know what would happen if you went into this in a 4-player group online and only one player didn't get kills. Maybe that'd be worth testing someday. But we aren't done yet, as there's still a couple more missions to knock out, plus the rest of Sandcastle. This mission involves killing enemies to defend a few comms towers while they're being hacked. Outside of the forced vehicle sections, it's really nothing to worry about, but again, I think if maybe you could play in 4 players, maybe it would be different. It's pretty straightforward aside from all those parts, at least until it leads into this random boss-type arena, where you have to run between pieces of cover to dodge sniper shots. Just saying, this part definitely sucked on Realistic and Veteran No Death, or at least on Veteran No Death, because on Realistic I think you got a couple of checkpoints. The penultimate mission is upon us. Most of this is par for the course and doesn't present any handgun issues. That is until we reach the final battle where we fight against a giant mothership enemy. But, thanks once again to the RPGs in name only, we are able to clear this fight and technically complete yet another mission as Mike Banning. The final mission, called Life, is probably the most insane fever dream of a mission I've ever played in a first-person shooter. The early parts of the level are pretty much your standard handgun-only fare, so nothing to worry about with those. This leads into a massive battle against infinitely respawning robots. Though rather challenging, I was eventually and miraculously able to make it to the building. And then shit starts to get really weird as we re-enter the frozen forest. I am not going to even try to remotely explain what happens throughout this entire area. All that matters is that my handgun tree gets watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots like 200 times over the course of the next hour. Even though I can't explain or understand what this whole area was about, doing this whole sequence in the Banning Challenge really isn't all that difficult. We burn the tree brain thing, escape the facility, and I almost beat Black Ops 3 as Mike Banning. For as weak as Call of Duty Black Ops 3's campaign is, this is the second closest I've come to finishing a Call of Duty game as Agent Banning. Only Modern Warfare 3 2023, which had 14 out of 15 missions being completely possible, ranked higher. I just can't believe the jet mission doesn't allow you to get through it without killing anyone, even in co-op apparently, which is just really disappointing. But as I also showed, you don't need Cybercores to beat this game outside of some of the enhanced movement. You don't need any of the abilities to beat the game, so you can play the game mostly like a standard Call of Duty. Thank y'all for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't already. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this run and Black Ops 3 and its campaign in general. The next of these runs is Black Ops 6, which will be followed by a return to a few of the older titles under this new rule set. We will see if this challenge will ever be possible. Let's find out together.